Hello, this is the final project for health information technology. This is the presentation for a prototype app, Diet Buddy. Um, Diet Buddy lets a user take control of their inflammation, especially when it comes to diet. Prolonged low-grade inflammation is associated with excessive oxidative stress and altered glucose and lipid metabolism in our fat, muscle, and liver. This is something that has been proven again and again through research that uh, the pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory diets has a major effect on a user's health. The dietary inflammation management app um, allows the user to take surveys of the kind of foods they eat, and they can repeatedly take these surveys and sort of grade their inflammation index in their diets. The It provides the user with base dietary inflammation index, and it also lets them track this index over time and monitor progress or setbacks in maintaining anti-inflammatory diet, which is kind of the target. The application consists of a graphical user interface designed for smartphones that run iOS or Android. The input device is a touchscreen with an on-screen keyboard for text inputs and touch manipulation interaction for responding to dietary surveys. The application supports English language, so the user needs to be able to read and write English. They should have some ability as far as creating accounts, verifying their accounts, and being able to authenticate via login. The application also needs a reliable internet connection, as all the historical inflammatory index data is stored on a cloud database. This slide shows the typical application workflow. So as soon as the user has the app, um, um, either sign in or sign up. If the user signs up, they can sign up with their email address or a phone number. They need to verify this email address or username in this case via a verification token sent to the phone or email. If the user signs in, they use their username and password, and they're greeted with a home screen where there are three major workflows that the user can take. The first workflow lets them take a dietary inflammatory survey. This is a multiple choice questions that user select some multiple choice questions. There are 9 questions in the survey. Once the user is done, they get a dietary inflammatory index, and the next page they can see more details in the associated with their dietary choices. The user has the ability to go back home from there or continue uh, visualizing more details. Now we'll go over the prototype in the next half of the presentation. The second uh, workflow is the user's ability to check their previous results. Uh, Once the user sees a timeline of the results, they can either select individual results and view details of those scores, or they can use a scroll view to see results going back in time as far as they have it. Again, step back home, they can view their account details. That lets them edit their account details, lets them save it, and they can go back home. So once the prototype was completed, we ran some system usability scale assessment for the prototype for the 5 users. Here we have the 10 questions of the standard system usability scale, and here are the 5 participants, and we can see that majority of the users were comfortable in using the app. They found it simple. Um, they they agreed that they would use the system more frequently. So overall, good score. Some of the findings of this process were that users reported positive experience while using the application prototype. Uh, Two of the users reported they found the sign up process a little more complicated, as the extra account verification step was not as transparent as they would like it to be, or they would not have it at all. All the users found the application helpful and reported that they would recommend it to others. Some of the feedback that has been incorporated in the current prototype is the request for a bold text on homepage for improved visibility, notifications for dietary inflammation news and updates, and possibly a channel where they can read blogs about dietary inflammation. Another recommendation was color coding for the visualization charts, and sort of adding a red and a green for pro and anti-inflammatory, so as to the readability is improved. Some of the future plans for the app uh, include receiving more user feedback, improve user interface by having more icons, animations, and graphics, improve user experience by streamlining account verification, um, advertising the application in local media, and partner with local dietitians to recommend their users to track their dietary inflammatory index using the application. Next, we'll look at the application prototype. Thank you. This is the prototype for Diet Buddy. This is the homepage they are greeted with. It's a dietary inflammation management, has some brief introduction in laid out grid for easy readability, um, a catchy button for user to start using the app. The first page they're greeted with is for the user to sign themselves up. we use their name, email address, phone number, date of birth to uh, calculate their dietary inflammatory index eventually. Once they enter this information, they can hit sign up. Once they get a verification code, they can submit, verify their account, and this takes them to homepage. The user can also sign in if they already have an account with a username that has email or phone number, a password, or if they have an account and they've forgotten their password, they can click forgot password, where they can use their email or phone number, their date of birth, and request a new password. It also lets them contact support if they are having trouble accessing the account. You can also select remember me so the user does not have to sign in every time they need to access the app. Once the user signs in, they are greeted with their full name. They can log out if they don't want to use the app anymore, or another user wants to use the app. The first workflow we discussed in the presentation was taking the dietary inflammation index test. So this is one of the 9 questions that are asked in the survey. It's a multi-choice questionnaire where you can select one. So for example, the first question is, in a typical day or average day, how often do you drink sugar sweetened beverage or eat a sweet such as ice cream or cake? The user can click on view more information on dietary inflammation if they feel like they want to understand why we're asking, what we're asking, or what inflammation does in general. This takes them to a brief introduction page. In future releases, we're planning to have an online chat support in case the user wants to directly interact with the nutritionist. So once the user goes through all the 9 questions, it also asks, the score also takes into account if you're vegetarian or not a vegetarian. Once we're done with the questionnaire, we get our results with anti-inflammatory on the left and pro-inflammatory on the right. The idea is to be as anti-inflammatory as possible, which is good for your gut. If you hit next, you get to see more results as to where your choices for inflammation lie based on what sort of diets you have been taking. Go back, see your results again, next, or hitting next would take you back home. The second workflow is checking their previous results. It's a simple scrollable timeline based on what your scores have been, what you've been eating recently. You can take this daily, weekly, or monthly, depending on either your nutritionist or your own research. The last workflow is where the user can view their account details and they can edit them if they want to make changes to any of these. They can go back, they can log out. That's it. Thank you.